Hold on. All right, so right now we're gonna be Trifautis.
Trigger
You
what
might
now?
want to reconsider the name.
Trifatui, whatever. We're just high
Guy
schoolers that talk
Fatui.
about dumb shit. No real rhyme or reason, just chatting. How you guys doing?
It's going pretty good. Me and John hit that football earlier today.
Fucking.
He missed that catch right over top of his head.
Person that was talking right there, his name is Dash. In real life, he's our resident ginger.
Oh man, you talk about the interception I could have caught, or you talking about the comeback route?
The person you just listened to right there, his name is John. He's our resident gateway to the pseudo world. By that, I mean he's just our conspiracy theory guy.
I was talking about the interception you could have caught when we were playing D. was
Oh,
right
bro,
o- It
I
was
should have
right over
caught
your
that, man.
head.
I should have caught that, bro.
I was so like, oh, John's nabbing this.
Do you
This
guys
man
have,
about to get
wait, wait,
mossed
wait,
by
wait. Hear
John.
me out. Hear me out. Do you guys have film of it?
No.
Mm-mm. No,
Okay, damn.
no film yet. We got 2 days starting after August 8th.
John, you going to the 7-on-7 today or?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
Dog.
That's gonna be interesting.
I still need to say, I'm Weevil. I'm here with Dash and Pickle Muncher. I'm gonna call Pickle Muncher John, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm over here with Dash and John. These two are my co-hosts or other hosts. Either way.
Oh yeah, John. Call him Nick. Nick. Don't call him by his last name because he's a little.
Yeah,
Sneak,
I'm a
sneak.
bit iffy on my internet profile, you know. And I'm Weevil. I do the hosting, editing, and I am the resident science guy in reality.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
So in this case, when you miss that little interception right there when it went directly over your head,
Oh, if you guys hear me munching, it's that cookie dough that we got yesterday.
oh, of course it was the fucking cookie dough, dog. Oh, Jordan still doesn't have a Discord, so we can't really add him onto the podcast.
Here, I'll annoy him to get a Discord.
Yeah, I'll probably nab him. So I found this news article. Poll: unvaccinated say vaccines are more dangerous than COVID-19. Of course, the unvaccinated say that, but it's also
they're biased.
a poll. It's probably biased, but it's also the Hill. So I think it's a pretty.
Here's the thing. I think the vaccines are actually pretty safe because I don't think the government would purposely put out
well,
vaccines
yeah,
made to kill us. But I don't think that they're like. From my perspective, yeah, there's got to be some afflictions to the vaccine.
There's gotta be something they're not telling us.
Well, you can look at the chemical compounds if you get like the minute materials, and nobody would be like, "Oh yeah, there's a mass pandemic. A lot of people are dying. What should we do? Oh yeah, let's kill more of them." Like, why would they do that?
Yeah, my thing is like the vaccine. I'm pretty healthy. If I get COVID, there's a chance that something bad can happen to me. But I'm probably nothing bad is probably going to happen to me if I get COVID.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I don't see a point in getting the vaccine.
I got
especially because everything's opening up too.
Oh yeah.
Well, no. LA actually just put back on their mask mandate because there's that new mutation that's coming around, and the southwest side of the country.
Oh yeah.
They're going under mask mandates.
LA is a very liberal place.
Well, okay,
Hey,
it's a very liberal and political place. That's true. You know, we got to keep politics out of this, but regardless, they're putting mask mandates back on because of an increase in numbers.
I'm not trying to be like mean when I say that. I'm saying during the pandemic and everything that went on, more conservative places tended to say, no, it's not really that big of a deal, and more liberal places took it a lot more seriously. That was all I was trying to say, and that I wasn't trying to get too political.
There's a fine line between science and just kind of being speculative. Like, okay, so
yeah,
I got the vaccine because
science, you're speculative about everything, but you also experiment on everything.
Well, yeah, but when I got the vaccine, the worst that happened was a sore shoulder and being extremely sick for 2 days, and then it was done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I was like on the brink of throwing up for like the 2 days after I got my second dose.
Yeah.
But because I am fully vaccinated, I don't mind it. I don't carry around my vaccine card. I'm not one of those people, but like, When you like believe in the science, when you believe in what's actually going on in the world, and you don't like trust whatever like extremely religious people or super speculative people, germaphobes, basically, you just gotta stay in the middle. You gotta stay neutral on these points of view.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really all you can do. And I think that has to do with a little bit more than just vaccines in general. I think that's a more broader of a topic. When it comes to politics, in my opinion, and what I like to look at it as, I'm a very middle of the road man. Now, I have been leaning more conservative with this last campaign, just because, let's be honest, everyone saw it coming, and no one what's the word? I'm just saying, no, like everyone saw the gas prices coming. Everyone expected what was going to happen, and then it did happen. And you know what? The explosion of that gas line really did not help either in that case, which is why it's so bad right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, there was a gas line in Russia that exploded not too long ago.
Well, also that one boat that got stuck in the Suez Canal.
That wasn't carrying a lot of oil though, or anything like that. I mean, it was a lot of different freight
because it had a lot of shipments from like the Middle East.
Right.
My thing is, personally, like, I'm not trying to get political or anything.
We're just high schoolers, man. We're just talking.
Yeah,
you can say
we're just high schoolers talking. Personally, I'm not trying to get too political. I just did not like the Democratic candidates very much. I preferred the Republican candidates. But again, like, the only really complaint I have right now is gas prices, because that's really the only thing that affects me. So
yeah,
this might be a little bit of a controversial statement, but I feel like where we went wrong as a country a long time ago was choosing sides. I don't feel like certain opponents or electees should have a specific side in a matter. I feel like if everybody kind of just laid out their views, what they wanted to change, and then you didn't assign what that person's views were to a specific side, we wouldn't have a varying battle, and our country wouldn't be so split right now.
John, I love you. Thank you. George Washington, one of the people I personally look up to, said that and agreed with that. Do not make a two-party system. Stay out of foreign affairs. We didn't do any of that, and now our country is a pretty screwed up.
To a certain extent, you can't stay out of foreign affairs.
To a certain extent, people kind of get mad at that. You see all the fairly neutral presidents like JFK or Abraham Lincoln, they got shot. Andrew Garfield.
Right, and that's the problem. That's the problem, because we didn't start that mindset early enough. Yeah. It was always one side versus another. It was always one extreme versus the other extreme, and that makes a very extreme result.
It's very true, because now people have gotten too extreme with it. There are too many extremists about each side that when you have someone neutral come along, like JFK, Lincoln, they get shot for it.
Well, then you get the far
right. Well, JFK was a bit bigger of a picture than just that, and so was Abraham Lincoln. But
true, but you know what I mean. When
was being neutral a cause of that? Maybe. Yeah.
Anyways, neutral is not very. It can be fully neutral. Like, being neutral, just rely entirely on fact. You're basically a robot.
That's true. Neutral in this term is a very loose
they don't have any
vocabulary.
They just be like, oh, hey, if we kill more people, that will reduce gas prices. Yes, it will, but it's also extremely immoral.
It's morally wrong. It is very true. It is very factual. It would be highly effective, but it's kind of like a Thanos thing.
Exactly.
It is very immoral.
Such a complicated line between finding out how to do right for the country without making a certain side mad. It's a very fine line you have to walk, etc.
Oh my god!
It's a very fine line between what's best for everybody and being true to your morals.
Yep.
And that's why people use religion as sort of a moral compass.
Yes,
and then that takes us back to anti-vaxxers.
Oh yeah, that too.
It's a full circle.
We can all agree anti-vaxxers are kind of stupid. We can.
Yeah. Okay. So question at hand, article, kind of bullshit. Sounds like it was a,
personally,
unpopulated source.
I'm against the COVID vaccine just because I don't want to go out of my way to get it. I mean, like, if it was provided to me, I'd still be kind of like against it because I don't really need it. But speaking on that, I'm actually up to date with every other single vaccine I ever have handed or like recommended to me. So
when I'm at a doctor's office, I ask for vaccines if there's anything that they could give me, because I feel like making my body the best prepared for anything out there would be the best chance of making me the healthiest person that I can. I don't necessarily go out of my way, but like if I see a poster that's like, talking about a new vaccine that came out that prevents some kind of cancer. This was a specific situation that actually happened 2 years ago in a doctor's office. I was just seeing my regulated PCP. And yeah, I mean, I just took it right then and there because I don't think it's going to turn me autistic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The thing is, vaccines have actually been proven that they do turn some babies autistic. But the thing is, without getting vaccine, you're losing
autism,
some of their
like
immunity.
symptoms don't actually show until years later. So how would they
Yeah.
immediately diagnose?
And the thing is, some autisms don't even like they're not those severe autisms like Down syndrome or something like that. A lot of people with autism that we correlate it to vaccines are high functioning autistics. You don't know they're autistic, and when you do find out, it's just like little things that like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But usually you just attribute that to a normal person who's not
true.
too experienced in a certain field.
Yeah.
Well, you also get these little high functioning autistic people from fetal alcohol syndrome, and that's entirely the parents' fault.
True. That is definitely 100% the parents' fault. That is, you drank while you had a child inside of you, and so that is what happened.
What a conversation! What a conversation!
Boy, let's segue over this. You know,
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos went on board to his own rocket. The CEO of Amazon and Blue Origin. It's the same thing with Virgin Galactic.
So, question here: Did he didn't actually go into space?
He
no,
got
he
into
just
space.
Walked
he passed
onto it.
No, he passed the Kármán line and he landed.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Oh.
he went onto his own rocket. Yeah, but like Virgin Galactic did it just a week earlier.
Well, all right. Here's the thing with Blue Origin. I actually did a paper in history about Blue Origin and about Elon Musk and his company. And to be honest, Blue Origin is sucking the balls of a lot of different private space companies.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to lie.
No. You got to draw the line between like, okay, these people are like pushing the bounds of space flight, but they're taking it safe. Any like aerospace company is doing a lot. You can't just say, oh, hey, these people are bad because they're like
right. No, that's very true as well.
Monopolies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have like a branch off, or else space would become like a.
Space would become a monopolized area that the rich who can afford to go there would use for those.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that. You have to also look at the goals of each company. I don't really necessarily like to look at Blue Origin versus Virgin Galactic or SpaceX, for example, as competitors, because they all have different goals in mind. Elon Musk wants to give us an alternate place to live because he believes we're running out of time on our planet.
Yes.
He wants to colonize Mars. He is pushing towards that goal. Jeff Bezos would want his goal, if you've ever looked at any of his press conferences or anything like that, he is talking about going to the moon and going back to the moon, setting up a more firm base and
speaking of Elon Musk,
almost a sphere of influence. Yeah, a sphere of influence on the moon that would pay us back economically speaking. It could help with off-planet mining.
Speaking of Elon Musk, I actually
like different ball game when you're talking about what each goal of the companies are.
Okay, but let's be honest here. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and most trust fund billionaires are kind of assholes.
The thing about Elon Musk is I like Elon Musk because as much as he wants to go all electric and stuff like that and be better for the planet, he said if there was a button to go all electric right now, he wouldn't push it because that's just stupid.
Yeah, that's stupid.
He's very smart and he's very tactical. He wouldn't push that button right now because we couldn't do that.
He's like hot garbage.
True. He's very smart, and he overlooks some of the small things sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm adding.
When one of his employees came up with the concept of the BFR, the big fucking rocket that eventually turned into Starship, it was basically just a massive rocket. He's like, okay, I need a big rocket for Mars, and they're like, a big fucking rocket, like a big rocket for fucking, or a massive rocket. It's like both. Is basically what he said. He's a meme lord. And that's why the internet loves him, even though he's, an asshole.
That's also going to be a big problem. I mean, if you look at the social media influence of different people like this in the world, just big people that are trying to make a change, anything like that, a lot of social media is going to translate that in a good or bad way. You just said yourself, like a lot of people on the internet love him just because of the way he talks. I've seen it on Joe Rogan's podcast when he was there last year or the year before, something like that. I've seen him on interviews with people like that. And when it comes to the media, they're going, depending on the source, they're going to give the most cushioning and branding story out there. They're going to try and feed you the crap that we like to hear, and
the media is giving you stuff that you like to hear, so they view
it has
you.
always been that. It has always been that way since newspaper, man. It has always been the media's trying to manipulate because that's how they make money. And when it comes to Elon Musk with how he treats his employees, stuff like that. Same thing with Jeff Bezos. I mean, have you heard any of the stories about people working in Amazon warehouses? They have amazing benefits. It's really good pay, and you basically have no prerequisites for the job at all. But you get treated like garbage.
Yeah, and they give you a box to cry in, and not like treating you like a human. That's basically what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what they're doing. They gave a box so that you can like release your emotional support as cushion, so you can like hit whatever you want. But
wait, seriously, this isn't actually.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
What the hell?
Yeah, they're not treating you like a human. They're giving you a box to cry in, and especially the drivers. Okay, who is he?
That is Jordan.
That is Jordan. You got Jordan in?
Yep.
All right, so now we're gonna be.
I said I've been doing that.
All right, we're gonna be in Pentafatuis.
There.
Let's go with Rex.
Okay, Rex.
Rex, all right.
Rex, all right. So the little unexpected guest we had right then and there was Rex. I call him Jordan every once in a while in this podcast because well, I know him in real life. It's kind of weird. He's our resident quiet guy right now, and he will have a bit more personality in later episodes, I promise. So over here we got a very unexpected guest over here, Rex. In the middle of our first episode of our first podcast. Well, so we've already segued to from vaccines to spaceships to like trust fund billionaires being assholes and also kind of good people.
I saw on social media, so not granted how valuable this source is, but there was a while ago when the CIA and the Pentagon put out files about those like confirmed UFO sightings, stuff like that. According to an interview that happened with the director of the UFO Association that works at the Pentagon, he was with some higher up that was more powerful than he was, came to him and told him to shut down his UFO program. Now, this was right before they started releasing that they were going to talk about, and they were going to. So, like, this was like they released talking about, we're going to do all this stuff. We're going to release all this stuff. You know, this is going to be coming out.
And then the program was shut down.
And then they released it. But before they made the announcement that they're going to be putting out UFO stuff and confirming that there's like probably definitely stuff out there, they came to the director of the UFO program and they told him to shut his stuff down. They're like, you guys got to stop what you're doing. And so he looks at him and he was like, yes, I understand.
Basically.
Yes. So he came to him and he was like, all right, yes, sir, understand, sir, because that's basically how they talk to each other. They're like, am I allowed to ask why?
You have to listen to your higher ups.
Yeah. And so he was like, am I allowed to ask why? Do I have clearance for that? And he was like, so he said,
do I have information as to why I'm shutting down the program?
Yeah. So he asked him why, and he was like, do you guys know, like, is it one of ours? This is a project we're not knowing about, something like that he's not allowed to know about? And he was like, no, it's no other country from what we've confirmed. No one's technology, it's not ours, but we already know what it is. So he looked at him, he's like, we already know what it is. Oh, I just got goosebumps all the way up my arms.
Well,
so basically a UFO.
No, listen, I'm not done.
An unidentified object that was flying was not another country's, but also not our technology.
Nope. So he looked at him in the face, and then he said the following: take this how you will. I've been very skeptical of religion since I was very, very young, and recently I've been getting what I feel are not necessarily signs to start looking into Christianity or anything like
you
that,
just feel
or
like
any
you
religion.
Should.
I'm getting feelings like I should. I'm getting signs like people are talking about it. It's coming naturally, and it's happening all at once. I'm not usually surrounded by the influence of this religion like this. So when he looks at this director and says, have you read your Bible lately? That really threw me off. So why would the director or the higher up, one of the top guys that runs that Pentagon,
especially because talking about the UFO,
why would he turn to his UFO director, tell him they have to shut it down, they're done, they already know what it is, we're releasing all this stuff, and then ask them. Bible. if he's read his Bible. Now,
I definitely
that,
understand
I
what
think,
you're saying
within
here.
its own is interesting. Why would you tell somebody that? Why would you ask if you've read your Bible lately? It's
You
very
see, reading
unworldly.
a Bible is like a form of comfort to some people. So
True.
when you get to like to a certain point where to a religious point where most people in America are devout Christians, it
Mhm.
kind of like feels like comforting to turn to
Right.
religion. So
So let me ask you this: why would they need that comfort? Why would he ask? Why would he tell
who
him
knows?
you're going to want to brace yourself?
Maybe they're good friends. Maybe you brought them over to like a dinner party, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been to church a couple times. They're like, all right, have you read your Bible recently? As in like,
But
you're probably
the
getting
context of the situation, he's talking to him about
Yes.
UFOs, unworldly objects, and then straight up asks him if he's read his Bible lately. And
I
according to this
understand
dude that
what
was
you're saying.
he was on the press with, he was on CNN, a whole bunch of different, he was on so many different news channels that the stuff that was coming out was unbiased. I'm just gonna say that right now. He was releasing stuff that he's allowed to talk about. By the way, this, it's not like he's
Declassified stuff.
Yeah, declassified information, stuff the government said he could talk about. So I know there's already stuff that man knows that we
this is
don't,
gonna be
which is
good.
even more
Man,
alarming.
conspiracies.
But what is going to happen? Like, what? Let me ask you guys this question, and we're going to segue into a conversation about it. What do you think about what he told that director, and then what do you think is the reason for him talking to him?
Personally, what I think is that I believe a lot of people who may or may not associate aliens with some form of higher power, like some form of deity or gods. So I
know a
believe
lot of
maybe
people
something
believe-
like that.
A lot of people believe in aliens because of things that have happened that just don't add up. Like, look at the pyramids.
Yeah,
Not even
the pyramids.
modern
The pyramids are
technology.
technologically amazing.
Yeah.
And even Benitez can agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I would say I'm probably the most technologically literate out of.
You are definitely the most technologically
Okay.
literate person in this call.
So you being knowledgeable, or not having that
Technologically literate.
information, being that kind of person, tell me now, would you say, from your opinion, that is it possible for pyramids to be built like that? I mean,
Yes.
I've seen
Do you-
schematics of
it is
tunnels and stuff. Do you think those could have been man-made?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you think those were made by the? Do you think they had the
It's different.
technology at the time to make what they made without some sort of
All you need,
outside
They did it with-
all
interference?
you need is
They did it
rope,
with
a
no
crane,
power
and
tools.
the force of leverage, basic physics.
No,
Everybody
but with
has
their-
that, and a
that's-
pyramid is
Benitez.
the most stable structure on ever in basic physics.
But
One
Nick,
slab.
what we're asking is, do you think at the time, with their technology and their headspace, they would just decide to make the pyramids and they would know exactly what to do, and all the things around the pyramids, like them facing perfectly north-south,
Yes.
those
yeah.
things,
Let
do you think
alone-
those are
Okay,
coincidences?
let me
Do you
ask
think
you
they
this.
designed that, and do you
What's
think
with
they
the
had the possibility?
What's with the terraforming deal about Mars? That's like a multi-generation project
Well,
that we are
but
down.
this
That we are
is-
100% down to do. Tell me.
Well,
If we were down to build the pyramids as like little grave sites for our higher powers or our higher beings,
but they didn't take long.
Well,
They took probably 100 years per
no,
couple.
more than 100 years, way more than 100 years.
No,
Okay, each pyramid was a
Ever.
marvel,
Yeah.
a technological achievement of great. That's why the pyramids
Listen,
of Giza are one of the seven wonders of the world.
Egyptians were very, very smart. They were insanely
were.
smart. People don't give them
Extremely.
credit for how many technological advances they made, how many tools they came up with, different technologies in agriculture,
No, they
economy,
do not get
different
they
stuff
do
like
not
that.
get enough.
So I
yeah.
would not put it past them to be able to build something to that mass and that size. But how about this? Those what do they call them? Hieroglyphs or
Hieroglyphics.
the,
Yeah.
Oh,
the
hieroglyphs.
hieroglyphics. The hieroglyphics of aliens. Have you seen pictures of those? It'll be like normal hieroglyphics, normal stuff, and then you'll see these two tall figures
John.
with big eyes. Very stereotypical. What do you think of that?
John, I'll raise you one. Every single religion, culture throughout history, Romans, Greeks, Chinese, Norse, Egyptians, they all had some form of mythical creatures like dragons.
no.
What about that?
I'll do you one.
Well, mythical
Every
creatures are one thing.
single-
They're spirit animals and hearing things from stories and stuff like that. That's one thing. I'm talking seeing proof of Egyptians
No, ready?
writing in their own language in pictures that there is proof of aliens.
All right, Rex, what are you talking about?
I'm a super, like, Greek mythology, all that, Egyptian mythology. A lot
He
of
finds mythology interesting, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yes. If you look past every mythology, who do they see as most gods? A tall, large being that has
True.
powers like this.
Well, everybody
Most
has a
times,
slight
gods are depicting as
megalophobia.
large beings.
Large, tall beings that are, and if you look at it closely, the height difference between what they compare that to aliens is very similar.
Yeah, because usually when they, depending on the religion and depending on the context and depending on who's telling the story, a god will either be a being of 30 feet tall or they will be beings of 10 foot tall.
What's the difference
Right.
between a giant and an alien? Just same concept. We don't understand
Well,
either.
you see, when you come up with the concept of aliens, you got to think of where they came from. If they come from an oceanic planet, then yeah, they might have like fins on them.
One thing I would like to propose is the fact that whenever we think of aliens, we always think of aliens as being more intelligent and more high tech and technical than us. What if there were aliens who were in an earlier stage of evolution than us?
Then we wouldn't see them. We would not come in contact. I guarantee
But
there
they
is
could exist.
In order
brilliant.
to get up
Think about
into
this.
the air.
Yeah, exactly. Think about how advanced we are, how far we've come, but how far we still have left to go as a society.
Exactly.
Our own.
100 years.
We've really left our
fundamentals
planet.
of rocketry is you
We
throw
have-
shit behind you and you go forward. That's basic
From
fundamentals.
400
It's
years.
basic, but it's a lot more complicated than that. It's not that easy.
Well,
Plus,
yeah,
you have to have
Benitez
the
was
right
just putting
conditions,
in
the
the
right
orbital
environment. You have
physics.
to have the right everything. You have to have the right perfect conditions to not only have intelligent life or not that's comprehensible of its own free will, but you have to have enough evolution and enough time and development for them to get that technology, which means they have to be around for way, way, way longer than us in the first place. As well, you have to think about time travel and space in general. The longer time goes on, the
thing about
further and
space
further
and
our
time,
group of galaxies around us will become. So the further and further into time we go, the harder it's going to be for us to see other life like that because of the expansion and rapid expansion of space.
If you want to talk about time and space, but if you want time and space and everything, then you're getting into relativity. Like if something was closer to where everything began, it's going to be a lot older than we are because light has reached it a lot sooner, meaning things started sooner.
So who are these flying objects? Who are these UFOs? Where have they come from? What are their intentions? Have they not gone back because they know that their planet's gone and they're using ours as a temporary or permanent resting spot? These guys, have they instilled the intelligence and the technology into people as far back as the Egyptians, and now they're playing hands off because they know that we're advanced enough to have comprehensible thought and things like that.
Weren't the most technologically advanced at the time.
I keep getting chills.
The Greeks invented the triangle. I know that doesn't really sound that impressive, but let's be honest.
Yeah, because Pythagorean was Greek.
Yeah, exactly.
The triangle is very, very important.
The calendar. They came up with the basic fundamentals of astronomy, which now.
Oh, but the pyramids aren't perfect pyramids.
The space race of without white girls.
The pyramids have 8 sides. The pyramids have 8 sides.
It's always been there. You got to think about that. Some other society has also come up with that. Some far distant place. There's infinite realities that are happening currently about our own planet. Not even just necessarily infinite other planets that could hold infinite life.
Boys, I would just like to reference that the pyramids do not have 4 perfect sides. They have 8.
But look at it this way, guys.
The pyramids actually have 8 sides.
You're gonna need to speak up.
Guys, look at it this way, because we've been looking for planets for the past 50 years that suit our environmental needs. But other planets may have be a little bit of life, be a little bacteria, whatever, and they evolved in a different way than we have.
Yeah, that's what I said. If there's an advanced species by like a water planet, they might have.
We do have things like hermophiles and acidophiles that can live in areas like that.
Exactly.
We have things here that could live in space and on those other planets.
Things that live in volcanoes.
Yeah, in the middle of hydrofluoric acid, we have things that can survive acidophiles.
Exactly. So we're looking for a planet with aliens that are suit our needs that are exactly like us. The point is, we're not going to find another
Yeah,
planet
yeah,
that
life as we know it. Who knows? Maybe like there's a life form out there
there's
that
could be
drinks.
we
There's a
could be
life
the
as we
least
don't know it.
we could be the least evolved version of life, and there could be 10 times more. But they be amphibians or just involved other creatures. Like dolphins.
Right.
They are mammals, but they are the second smartest beings known to man, but they live in the water.
Yeah, so think about that. Yeah, what kind of environments restrict certain different kinds of species and
That's how they
planetary
evolved.
environments as a whole? What restrictions do they set on that life, on the habitats, and what restrictions will happen and cause evolution to diverge a species in a direction that's not towards more intelligence, if that makes sense. Like the water really prohibited a lot of animals and beings from not getting out. Like we got very lucky in our case where we were able to evolve to this exact standpoint, and it took a very long time, and the numbers and everything were just right. Like think about that. Like Jordan
Yes,
just made a very
everything
good
that
point.
happened in evolution so far has been extremely, extremely lucky with how our planet was. First, a giant fire and lava ball,
Well, yeah,
and then
that's
the
the
right
basic.
thing hit it to get us water, and then the right things were created of bacteria to make the ozone layer, to make everything.
Well, let me ask you, Dash. I always see you with the cross around your neck, and you're over here talking about evolution. How does that like sort of affect your thinking about like the creation of all these otherworldly beings?
Okay, so I am a very when it comes to religion and my personal beliefs, I'm a very confusing man because I believe all these great societies and their religions, they're not just going to have religions based off of nothing. So I believe it's based off of something, but I also believe in science and how we were once something and then we evolved. The Big Bang, everything. But how did the Big Bang happen? Because before the Big Bang, according to science, so far as we know, it was nothing. So how did nothing become something?
It was a space.
My theory.
Well,
That's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, my ideas are something happened that created not necessarily the Big Bang, but something. Something was created that caused
something created
the Big Bang.
nothing. Something created nothing, and then
nothing
nothing turned into
created-
something.
Exactly. Nothing created
very
nothing.
big.
Nothing turned into something.
Now, there's a
And-
very interesting concept I saw in this. There's an episode, it sounds silly bringing up a show like this, but there was an episode of Futurama where they go forward in time, where the scientist builds a time machine and they go too far forward. So he gets an idea to go so far forward in time that they restart at the Big Bang.
Oh, yeah,
So it's kind
I
of this
saw that.
concept. Yeah, so it's kind of this concept of going
Speaking-
so far into time and so far into the future, like incomprehensibly far, that you'll end up at the same starting point. But since time is relative and space is infinite, how would that even be possible in the first place?
Okay, so if we were going to speak on that, there is a show called Doctor Who. It's a very interesting show. It's British. You guys probably don't know about it.
Love
But
that show.
in there's a thing called total event collapse, where every single star that has ever existed supernovas at once, in theory, destroying everything. But while destroying everything, could it also probably create
Well,
everything?
yeah,
And
when
that's the Big
supernovas
Bang.
Explode, they create-
Maybe. Hold on,
they
I'm sorry.
create a gas cloud. They create like a sort of like a star nursery, which create new stars. Now, if there was a neutron star, all these things would probably collapse back into the neutron star, and then just kind of like continue to burn into iron, creating a Goldilocks zone super close to that star.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not only that, but it's also probably the dimmest star. And then once you get the black holes, we don't know where they lead.
So think about this then. So I talked about earlier, I'm sorry about my dogs barking in the background. So I was talking about earlier that when it comes to the expansion of space, it's so rapid and so increasingly fast that our galaxies are quickly moving apart from each other. And what galaxies I mean, we're a part of a stellar group which combines different galaxies into one system. It's kind of like a solar system for galaxies, if that makes sense. But in between these these selected stellar groups, there are mass spaces of almost complete nothingness. And as space rapidly expands, that means relatively us to those other galaxies, we're getting further and further away. So wouldn't you think that after a certain period of extensive amounts of time, that there would eventually be nothing at all? I mean, think about this. Space goes on for so long, for so far, that every star eventually dies out. There's nothing in between anything anymore because
right now we do know there's an edge of the
planet. Listen,
we do know there's an edge of the conceivable universe, but so far all we know is it's infinite. It could have an end. It could possibly go on forever.
No, I'm not talking about necessarily an end. I'm talking about the expansion itself becoming so vast and so rapid that there's nothing left. I'm talking about looking at a time point so far down in our future, and not our future, but the future of space and time, that there is nothingness, complete nothingness, to the fact that there is then absolutely no starting point. And
most
then,
TV shows actually acknowledge that if they acknowledge time travel, like The Flash, he's traveled so far into the forward, it's nothing.
Listen. I'm talking complete empty space for infinite amounts of distance. That means nothing. No stars. All the stars have died out. It is complete darkness for so long.
A void.
I know we're talking about
another Big Bang, but then another Big Bang. Is that how we started? Think about before. Before the Big Bang, was there just nothing because space had completely expanded and rapidly, materialized in such a quick amount of time that there is now nothing left, and then something happened. Boom. Now there's a lot. Now there's everything that is constantly expanding and constantly moving, and it's now an infinite loop, if you will.
I know this is stupid to bring up in this situation, but in the DC universe, there was this whole restart called Flashpoint, and basically what happened is everything got so messed up because the Flash time traveled to try and fix something that he basically had to hit the reset button as you know it, and all the characters changed and became different, in theory starting another reality. So
are you saying that each Big Bang starts a new reality? Then that concept of infinitely replaying an infinite
I'm saying it could be an extreme possibility where everything just goes until everything dies, and after everything dies, something might happen to where it starts up again, or that everything dies in such an explosive way.
That's what we're talking about. Is that where science and faith mix? When we're talking about something so far in the foreseeable future that's when faith and science have a crossing point? And that crossing point, we find out, is that going to technologically advance us? Are we going to have a revolution in religion? Is there going to be an outbreak? Are there going to be riots? How are people going to react to information if we ever find out about that?
No.
I saw this video the other day talking about the theism and atheism, and it was someone in depth talking about the beliefs of both and pointing out that they're in fact very extremely similar, practically the same thing. And it made me think of Weevil over here, because I know he is very much an atheist.
Yes.
Jordan?
Well,
Alright, so with Ash's theory on the whole Flash thing, that whole thing created an infinite number of realities. But the thing is, there's also something called multiverse, which is each possibility of the Big Bang.
Multiverse theory,
in a different, and there's alternate versions.
An endless amount of... That's Rick and Morty.
Possibilities that will go on and continue forever.
Yeah,
Rick and Morty right there.
If you think about it, like if you think that the multiverse theory is just a theory, it's kind of the same as saying the Bible is just a book. We don't know if it's entirely true or not.
Right.
No, because it could be proved.
No, there
could be alternate versions.
Well, it's like Schrodinger's cat. There's a universe where the cat dies or the cat lives.
You don't know until you look in the box.
Exactly.
This is look at it this way. Say you could time travel and you could change something. What happens to what happened originally?
That's what we have yet to find out.
That's very true. That is butterfly effect right there. Like, if you time travel back, step on a butterfly, that butterfly was the thing that let your mother and dad meet. Now your mother and dad don't meet. Now you aren't existed. But then if you don't exist, you're not there to go back and step on the butterfly to cause your dad and mom not to meet. And if you're not there to do that, then your dad and mom meet, and it's just a whole entire loop of...
Therefore, you exist without actually existing.
Now, there are different kinds of travel. When we talk about in pop culture and stuff like that, different kinds of time travel, you have to look at it. It's almost on a graph. I watched a video on this. It was talking about that specific type of time travel where you go back in time and events will change in the butterfly effect. But there's also, when you go back in time, different things that can happen. Like, you can go back in time and plant something in your past self's brain, right? You just you give them a piece of information, but then you go back in time, and now there are two different selves of you that are conscious and making future decisions and past decisions both at the same time. So when your past self gets to that point where you have to go back in time to tell your past self, you see it as an infinite loop, almost a paradox. So what happens if your past self your future self comes to you one day, gives you some kind of significant information, and then leaves, right? And you figure out what time and date like he came back on. So say like he came back in the year 20 or from the year 66 on November 13th, right? So then that day rolls up, all right? You live your life, you go on about everything else, and you're thinking, and then all of a sudden that day comes, November 13th, 2066. What happens if you don't make that same decision as your future self did? And then what happens to your past self after you've made that decision not to go back? That is a different kind of time travel, and that is what I think about a lot.
Yeah, I watch a lot of.
We've only been talking about time traveling backwards, but think about time traveling forwards. If you create something and time travel forward, I like Dragon Ball. I know it's an anime, but I like Dragon Ball in this reference where they time travel forward, they help them do something, and now there's two different timelines. One timeline where they got helped and everything changed, and the other timeline where it's all just continuous. And who's being a mic breather right now?
Yeah, John, you're a mic breather.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. My bad. I think that's a good topic to talk about, though, and I think that is what's going to stop us from ever getting time travel actually possible in at least our lifetime or in general, because I feel like time travel in itself is impossible, just because there are so many different kinds that we could possibly think about that are valid.
Okay, well,
let's if we could, there would have to be some kind of like higher up organization to stop us from. Like
the TVA.
Say this as a Marvel. Yes, like Marvel, like how they went up with the TVA.
Yeah,
or
that
there has to be something that would control us to put us in order and make sure we can't reset something too big of an amount with it.
Well, Rick and Morty is kind of like gag show, but Rick is a very smart man in Rick and Morty, but even he doesn't mess with time travel because it can get so convoluted, messy, and just disgusting. And I actually like that approach because everybody when there was a kid said, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna kill Hitler. If you kill Hitler, everything changes. It would be such mass change that you would never be able to go back and kill Hitler. And you're stuck in an endless loop and paradox.
Dash.
Yeah.
My grandma's Jewish. She's like 30% Jewish. The Jewish ancestral that she tracks back is where the Jews hid out during World War II. You kill Hitler,
exactly.
They never hid, I would be erased from existence.
Think about this. People always go back to the Hitler situation, but think about why Hitler wanted to do what he was doing. I'm not saying his reasons are valid. He was a horrible fucking person. No. But like, think about this. The Jews and the Palestinians have been fighting over land and lost territory for thousands of years. And that was a main driving point. He feels like they're all land, they're not the right species, and that they're incorrect and should not be a part of society. Why? We've
done that about some animals. We've killed off animals just because they weren't good enough for us.
That's not my point, though. I'm saying, like, people. What if you go further back in time and prevent something from happening to where the Jews don't invade someone's land and they're not the attackers for once, and then that stops all quarrel altogether. So then later in life, later in time, and in relativity itself, that will never become an issue. That's even further down the line we're going, which is even more dangerous. That would mess up the current.
That would mess up the present so much because then people are never born, events never happen. It changes everything completely.
You're not at that point. I feel like we're taking out the lives of billions, not just millions. So I feel when it comes to terms of,
you might be taking out the lives of everyone because you don't know how to react.
The only reason why I think time travel should ever be used if it's to save our own species. I don't think it should be used to go back to save one of ourselves from something else, an event.
Time travel should not be a thing for morality. Time travel should be a last resort. Last ditch effort. There is literally no other ideas, nothing else.
John, about that point, in 6.2 billion years, it's estimated that the star is supposed to blow up. What are we supposed to do to that?
And with that, that's the end of the first episode of Pentafatuis, 5 idiots. Hope you've enjoyed. With that, have a wonderful day. Have a good existential crisis. Bye-bye.